when you're at that high in your life, like you've seen one exit and now second one you're building and you're like, this is my real thing. I'm gonna completely revolutionize this industry and stuff. You don't know that sometimes genius is in knowing where to stop. I was skipping meals. I was like no mental health support, no nothing. And I didn't realize what was happening. Then I ended up suffering a cardiac arrest.
She just sold her company. She sat in a room full of men negotiating the biggest deal of her lifetime. Wait, she sold for how much? I can't even believe she managed to get double her valuation. Let's keep this just between us.
Seriously? This interview you're going to listen to is mind-blowing, okay? You're going to talk to Sharmin Ali. Sharmin has had 3 different exits, 3 totally different outcomes, 2 which raised venture, 1 which resulted in an actual heart attack, and a massive, massive amount of knowledge. She's going to tell you all about not just the companies that she started. And listen, she's like a tech entrepreneur who raised a lot of funds, got into some trouble, got into some great stuff. Her outcome, she lived to tell the tale. And you know what? She really does tell it openly and honestly and with true reflection. I think if you're a founder who's in the middle of raising venture, if you're a founder who's feeling crushed by the pressure, if you're a founder who feels like at any moment you can break, this is the episode to listen to. Here's Sharmin. Sharmin, I'm so excited to welcome you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm excited too. Yay!
And I feel so lucky because you have had multiple exits and have lived to tell the tale. And so I would love for you to give our audience like an overview of that journey, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Oh my God, yes. When you talk about startups and exits, it's been such a crazy ride. Okay, so let me give you a little background about me first. So I'm originally from India, came to the US first in 2010 after my engineering. That was again a big thing, because I've always wanted to sort of, as a kid, like in my growing up days, basically Google was just coming up, right?
Yep.
I mean, in the 2010. So I was like, I want to join Google. Have that
In 2010, that was like the thing. You go,
Yeah.
you're here, you work for Google, you work for Facebook, you were, at the time, all of that. So
Yes.
that was
It's
seen
like
as
one
like
of
the gold
those,
ticket.
like
Mhm.
one of those big tech companies. But then, so I even moved to Chicago to actually join Google. Okay. But then, on the flight, I'd met this one founder who just started his company. And he told me about the possibilities and about what all he's doing, and basically showed me the dream of, oh my God, we're going to start something from scratch and all of that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to build my own Google, yay!
Right. You're like, I don't need to work for Google. I'm going to be Google. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm so gullible.
Oh my gosh, what a fortuitous plane ride.
Yeah, so fortuitous, yes. So I was like, okay, bye, Google. And then I joined this startup. I was one of the early employees. And initially joined them as an analyst, but then, the founder sort of understood that I was meant to be in sales. And I'm so grateful to him and, the leadership primarily, because they really shaped my career, and I sort of understood that I'm meant to be in sales. Like growth is my thing, sales and even marketing and growth, like all things growth related. And that was, I think, the best decision of my life. I've worked with the biggest Fortune 500 companies as my clients, and went to like 7 different cities in 4 years and sort of worked my ass off for the next 4.5 years and stuff, and like 15, 16 hours every day, and got the best of the clients. I mean, I'm talking about Microsoft, Pfizer, Walmart, etc. Like all of these like dream companies that, you want to be like, oh my God, blockbuster events are happening in life. Like, what is this?
I want to know, what did that guy say that like was it something that like switched for you, that you took that risk? Because Google is obviously at the time was, it. And you were going to that job, and yet he sparked something within you that made you take a risk that ultimately paid off. What do you think it was? Because I'm thinking about all the founders who are listening who need to recruit the next Sharmin to their team. Like, what was it, do you think?
I mean, it also, I mean, yes, the founder is very convincing, no doubt. But it also depends on the person that you're talking to. I mean, of course, right? Both the parties have to be on the same page. Now, I was not even 22 back then. I was like 21 and a half or something, about to turn 22, right? And, I was like open to taking risks. Now, this guy is someone who's like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? You look Indian. Where are you coming from? Like, I was, like sitting
Of
next to
course.
him. And I'm like, yeah, I'm coming from Bangalore because I've done my engineering and, originally from Calcutta, whatever. And he's like, so why are you moving to the US? Where are you going? Like, this is you're very young, 21. Like, why are you going to the US now? I was like, yeah, it's my dream to join Google and stuff. So yeah, whatever. I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna see whatever. I was like, Many whatever. And he's like, okay, so I am doing this, and I am looking at getting some very exciting, adventurous people on board. You look like a very adventurous person at 21. You've just taken a one-way ticket to the US, and you're leaving. So do you want to join us? And I was like, are you offering me a job? And I was like, what? I mean, so random. But we're just talking, we're just drinking wine that they give on the flight, right? I was like, okay, maybe he's a little like tiny bit high or something. What are you saying? Who are you, stranger? But then he's like, no, I'm serious. I mean, this is legit. This is what I'm doing, and analytics and stuff. And back then, big data, Hadoop, and like
That's
all
right.
of that. And he showed me the elephant logo for like
Yes.
Hadoop and stuff, and I'm like,
Yes.
all this? What is Hadoop? I'm like, sounds like poop, but what is Hadoop? I
Right,
have no
right.
idea. I'm like, listen, I don't code.
I'll try it. Yes.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so I told him about my family's background,
Yes.
about my experiences. He told me about his. He's like, okay, I've done this, I've done that, I've been here, I've been that, and then showed me the whole, like, took me to promised land, right? He's like, okay, I've raised 1 million. Now I'm gonna raise, another 5 million in the next 3 or 4 months. And then after that, I'm gonna target like, every possible investor that there is. Sequoia, General Atlantic, blah blah.
Unbelievable.
Investors? Who are investors? Like, I knew the meaning of the word investor, but I didn't know venture capital. 21,
So he must have really excited you on like
excited me
what it
so
could
much
be.
and sort of showed me the whole roadmap. He's like, why do you want to join a Google when, you can, like, I mean, don't you want to be like the Sergey Brin of Google at this company? And I'm like,
Yeah. It's a great point. And so so this is where you learned that you were really strong in sales, that you could talk to any company anywhere.
I mean, I'll tell you, like, they sent me to this pharma company. I won't take their name, but they sent me this pharma company in New York. So I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, one of the biggest, and they're like, you have to get, uh, you have to get a pilot with this. And I walk in first day, and like 60-year-olds, and I'm 21. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to talk to them. And this person has given me 30 minutes of his time. He comes and he starts talking about his divorce. And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't know what to say. And he goes on, he's ranting, he's venting, whatever. And I'm patiently listening. And by then, 20 minutes done. And then his secretary comes, you have a call, you have to take this call, whatever, some clinical trial, some shit has gone wrong, something is going on. And I'm like, what is a clinical trial again? I don't know.
I don't even know. You're just
And
happy in the room.
yeah, and then because I was, but I'm a very, very good listener, like very
Yes.
patiently listen to
Yes.
people and stuff.
Yes.
And he comes back and he realizes, oh, you know what? Oh, we didn't talk about, oh, what was the company called again? Oh, what are you guys doing again? And then, I was like, by then I so patiently heard him out that he was kind enough. He's like, you know what? Are you free on Saturday? We have this breakfast thing on Saturday. Why don't you come? I'll intro you to everyone in the company. I
Amazing.
was like, okay, sure, I'm in. And then I came, and one by one, so for the next 6 months, I just spent meeting people. Like, okay, these are the
Wow.
doctors, these are the statisticians, this is the clinical trials team, this is, all the patients that they get for the drug testing, this is the 12-step process that happens in drug development. And the 6 months, I knew each and everything that a pharma company does, and the entire R&D process. Like, I'd been to their labs and stuff. And and then sort of how do they enter into the Asian market, because we were originally from
Yes.
Asia and stuff.
Yes.
And finally we got a deal. And after 9 months, the first deal that we closed was a pilot for $1 million. And this founder was over the moon. He's like, oh my God, you
Ah,
have got the patience to listen to people and to like get things. And I had no idea. I was 22, like I turned 22 when this happened. And by then I was like, okay, which one is next? Microsoft, let's go for it.
wow. It gave you the
One
confidence
after
to
the
move
other.
forward.
Yes. I mean, it was
Oh.
it was insane. It was insane.
So what ended up happening with that company? So did you stay until the end?
So I stayed there for 4.5 years, like 300 million in ARR. They
Woo!
raised a ton of money. They are a unicorn now, and
Yes.
I mean, planning to go IPO sometime probably. And so I decided to leave because I was like, I've learned so much. I mean, I'd done hiring, I'd done sales, I'd done marketing, I'd even coded. I sort of like I done strategy, like every possible thing in that you need to do. So it's like I know so much. And at 26, 27, when you've learned so much, that I think that's the best time to start something of your own. I was like, where do I put all this world of knowledge into? So I went back to India to start my first company. Now, for anyone who doesn't know India's history, I should sort of like give a little bit of understanding here. Now, India is, I mean, it's like seventh largest country in the world. Now 1.4 billion people. That time probably like almost like about to get to a billion or something. So, I mean, there was Indian audiences were still very much prone to consuming content on their television sets, as opposed to, let's say, like consuming content like on digital platforms, right? Like, and I'm talking about 2014. There was no Netflix in India, and in the US Netflix had already moved from selling CDs to the whole OTT concept. Yeah, and in 2014, and I'm a huge movie buff. I love movies, I love content. I'm like, oh my God, let's go watch a movie every weekend, like at a theater or something. I was that crazy. So I'd seen Netflix and I had that idea in my mind. Then I've myself done theater for about 14, 15 years in my life as a kid, you know. So I was like, oh my God, bringing my theatrical experience onto a digital platform would be so cool. Like that was the idea. And then I understood like how to do it. Now there's this company called Reliance in India, which is like one of the biggest companies in India. And, they have like uh, petrochemicals, telecommunications, manufacturing into like multiple different. I mean, it's like India's biggest sort of a thing, right? They had come out with Geo, which was in the telecom sector, and they were giving free internet to everyone. You know, in 2014, people were like, "Oh my God!" I mean, like every possible person was like Samsung phone, like because they were really cheap. iPhone wasn't really a thing back then in India. So I was like, amazing. People are just gonna start moving to digital, And I was like, we should do something about this. Of course, there was YouTube and there was Vimeo and stuff and all that was there. So we decided to start our own YouTube channel and sort of, create content, like start from there and then move to a proper OTT thing. And yeah, that was my first company. So ran that company for 4.5 years. Like 4 to 5 years has been my thing with every company in life.
So were you the face of the content? It was you?
So I was writing scripts. I was
Okay.
writing scripts.
Okay.
Yes, I've also acted. I've directed.
Yes,
Like,
I knew that about you. Yes.
Yeah. Done all of that. I've acted in a lot of content. I mean, my Wikipedia calls me an Indian actress, actually.
Right. I know. I was interested in that. I was like, oh, okay, and that's linked to her entrepreneurship. Now it makes sense. So you started a content channel that you were then going to grow into.
So
OT.
Yes. So we'd raise some traditional sort of, family office money and stuff also. Yeah. At like, I mean, like the most grotesque terms ever. But then in 2014, back then startups weren't really a thing. So you were like, oh, okay, fine. Like you've lost 80% of your company in like the first 2 or 3 rounds, pretty much. But anyway, I mean, it was a great experience. And so after 4.5 years, sold that company for an 8-figure exit. And then I was like, okay, fine. Now that I've built something in India and I know how to build a startup and I've done everything around it, like how to sell. So I was like, okay, now it's time to go back to the US and see what the whole Silicon Valley hype is all about. Like everyone knew San Francisco. I was like, okay, what's the thing? Like,
it sounds like the first company was really about the learning because you had to deal with the gross terms. Like it's your first time doing it.
Yeah.
You figure it out. You have this 8-figure exit, but your terms are nuts. And so it was a learning. And now we go to the US and we're going to Silicon Valley. I love that part of the story.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the learning. The first exit is the learning. Okay.
Totally. You made all your mistakes. I mean, I think I've made mistakes in every company. Like,
of course. We all do. We all do.
Second one, I was like, okay, so back then in 2018, IBM Watsons was a big thing, the whole sentiment analysis. And I think one thing with me is, I think timing was great for me every single time. I think I kind of have that vision, like, when to build what. So timing was perfect. I was like, IBM Watsons is amazing. So I got in touch with my school friend, my co-founder, who's been my co-founder in the last 2 companies now. And so he has a master's in AI. And I was like, dude, and he's like ex-Microsoft and he'd sold his first company to, they were based out of Berlin and stuff. And like, I mean, crop management, using drones and stuff and all of that, So I was like, listen, dude, I'm doing this. And the only tech person I know is you. And, like a little perspective about him is that, so I'm the very hyper one. I'm like, this, come on, let's get this thing done.
You have a sales background.
Yeah. I'm like the crazy hustler. Like, I can never sit peacefully. And he's very calm, very grounded. He's like
tech guy.
He's like the team's therapist, the team's counselor.
Yes,
like someone you want to sit and talk to.
Totally.
That's awesome. So it's like a match made in heaven, right? Like in a team, like very complementary skill sets, right? Sales and tech, and I'm the face and he's the backbone. I sell, he codes. I'm the hustler, he's the calm one in the relationship. I was like, dude, the only person who I know can stand me is you. So I want you in this.
Okay. So now you see Watson and you're like, okay, we're going into AI. Like, cause it really was the start of artificial intelligence. Okay. So what do you build?
So, we were obviously thinking a lot, and, first thing we built was emotion AI for product reviews. Okay. So, I mean, of course, sentiment analysis and stuff, right? So I was like, emotion-based selling, like why are reviews so important for any marketer? And, we'd interviewed a lot of marketers, and I'd met some neuroscientists and neuromarketers from Harvard. And oh my God, they told me everything about how the brain works, and the three layers of the brain, the reptilian, the limbic system, or the emotional brain, and the neocortex, or the thinking or the analytical brain, and how the emotional brain is like so powerful, and how the amygdala works and stuff. And I was like so blown away. It's like, oh my god, emotion based selling has to be my thing. The traditional forms of selling are now done, marketing is done, now it's time to like emotionally market your product, right? So how do you create content that can emotionally stick with your audiences? And I'd read that book Made to Stick, and yeah, like positioning and all of these books I'd read, and I was like so encouraged and like so enthused. So yeah, so that's how we started. So first it was analyzing the emotions in your reviews,
Okay.
and then we in fact launched our own version of ChatGPT way before ChatGPT became a thing, like that emotion based recommendations,
And
right?
which was
So
this? This company was, which company was this?
this was in Storied.
Okay,
This
this
was
is it.
the second company, yes. And we ended up raising a lot of money and stuff, and over 1,000 plus employees, and like all of that stuff. But I mean, I think most of the people, most of my investors, they loved me because I was a crazy hustler. I was like, what is burnout? I was like, I don't give a fuck about it. Let's go do this. Like 3 a.m. on a Saturday night, I am up and like, I'm doing stuff. I was like crazy about it. Like when you're at that high in your life, like you've seen one exit and now second one you're building, and you're like, this is my real thing. AI is, yeah, I'm gonna completely revolutionize this industry and stuff. And like you don't know that sometimes genius is in knowing where to stop, right? That learning hadn't yet come to me. And I was like 30, like 31, 31, 32. Like at the prime of my thing, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. And I didn't realize that I was skipping meals. I was, like no mental health support, no nothing. And yeah, I had a few bad breakups and shit and all of that. And I am also very emotional. I mean, we all are. And I didn't realize what was happening. Then I ended up suffering a cardiac arrest at the
Oh,
age of 32.
at
Stress
32.
induced.
And
Stress induced. Yeah. You
how
know,
much had you raised at that point?
we'd raised a ton of money. Like we just closed a $200 million
Oh
deal.
my God. Oh
Yeah,
my God. Okay, so then
and
what happens? What
I can't
happens?
believe this. I mean, I say this like it was nothing, but I woke up. It was I think 6 a.m. or something, and at this hospital, and I was in the ICU. And the doctor comes in, the cardiologist. He was a Dr. Patel, and American Indian.
Yes, yes.
And he's like, so, Sharmin, you know what? You've just created a record. You're my youngest patient with a cardiac arrest.
Oh my God.
He's like, though you got a minor cardiac arrest, but you should know that this is basically your body giving you a big sign.
So what do you
And
do, Charmin? You've raised all this money, you have this company, and your body's like,
yeah, body's like falling apart,
what
right?
do you do?
Seriously, like, I mean, I knew because from the 3 months before that, my vitals were not normal.
Yes,
I mean,
yes. You knew something was going on.
yeah. My doctors were like, "Are you not sleeping? Why are you so stressed?" And your brain to body, the sync, right? Like I
Yeah.
knew that something's not right. Like I was getting panic attacks. Like I was always very anxious. I couldn't sleep at night at all. Like not at all. And I was like, what is wrong? Something's not right. And yes, I mean, I am responsible. I take full responsibility for my health. But I mean, it was just that crazy startup thing. you
Okay,
know
so what do you do? What ends up happening with this company?
yeah, so I was like, it's like, fuck, this is not normal. And my parents had flown in from Australia back then. They live in Australia. And my dad was like, just lock her in the hospital for a month so that she doesn't go back to working. My co-founder is very good. Like he's very supportive. So he's like, Sharman, listen, we can build multiple companies. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is I mean, he was the first one who said this, that, genius is in knowing where to stop. Okay. And the sage of a person that he is, and like with all the knowledge that he has, he really sort of sat me down, because my parents spoke with him and they were like, please put some sense into her head, she is just crazy. Because my first question to my doctor was like, how minor? When he said it was a minor cardiac arrest, I was like,
Like
how
maybe it
minor?
doesn't. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe I can get
Yeah,
that.
and because I mean, I know one thing, that most of us human beings suffer, like, I mean, suffer cardiac arrest, and we don't even know that it's a cardiac
Mm.
arrest. We think that it's a panic attack
Oh
and
my
stuff.
gosh,
It's
Sharpie.
very difficult to gauge sometimes. So I was like, okay, maybe something just happened and I collapsed. Like, how bad? But then, I mean, my co-founder was like, no, it's a sign. It's a sign, and you're not getting yourself killed doing this. And that's when I was like, okay, time out. Decided to, take an exit. Of course, the whole thing, I mean, when you've built something from scratch, and, like 50 million plus in ARR and stuff, and you've 70% of that I had got, like, oh my God, it was so unfortunate. It was so sad. I was so sad. I was really sad. But then I took that decision to, take an exit.
So
And
did you exit the company, or did you end up having the company get acquired at that point? Like what
so yeah, I mean, eventually, the company did get acquired, yes. But I mean, I'm talking about 22, you know. I'm like, this is first time venture backed, right? First time it was, like traditional
Yes,
family
of course,
office.
of
Now
course.
venture backed.
This is venture.
Venture, right? Like crazy terms again. And I'm like, fuck, okay,
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, whatever, shit, keep the money,
So
like,
you say just get me out.
just
Get me
just
out.
get me out. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, of course there were a lot of those arguments and stuff, and like a lot of that shit happened, of course. I mean, we, like, that is what taught me like two very big lessons. Number one, you have to date someone before you get married, so you have to date your investor also, get to know them well, because a startup as an investor founder relationship is like marriage pretty much. You don't just get into it for the sex.
Mm.
You're in it because you're building something bigger
Yeah, you're going to
than
be
that.
married. You're in it till the end. The second you take
Yes.
the money, you know
Yeah.
you're in it till the end. And
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
have to
So,
yourself.
I learned my lessons. It's like, oh my God, like, it's so important. And the importance of a lawyer. Like, my own mother's a corporate lawyer. And, I didn't know why is it so important to have a great lawyer, because understand the terms of your deal. Otherwise, you are fucked for life, you know they can
Yes.
screw your life up so bad, and you'll be
Oh,
stuck. And at the end of it, like, so many founders who, like, whose companies get sold for like 300, 400 million,
don't make a dollar.
don't make a
They
dollar.
don't make a dollar. And I
Yeah,
know, and I'm so happy that you're on the show and you're able to speak so candidly about that, because
yeah,
it's just, it's so hard. How do you, so now, okay, you exit, you're done. Okay,
yeah.
company fine, you're done. How do you recover and how do you rebuild?
That 1 year, like 14, 15 months, 2022 to a little bit of 23, I think was the most difficult time of my life. Like,
Of
one
course.
of the most difficult times of my life. And I couldn't imagine that, I mean, finding myself again would be so difficult.
Yes.
First thing, I, like, for the first 3 or 4 months, I did nothing. I was just like, as they say in Italian, dulce far niente, the
Yes.
doing nothing.
The art of just still. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, no calls, really? Checking my calendar, nothing.
Emptiness.
So, yeah, and then traveled a lot. Wrote one book.
Yep.
Did some of those things. Did a lot of yoga, meditation. A friend introduced me to Pilates, and I realized
Yes.
I love Pilates.
Yes.
Ended up losing some weight and all that, and, like, did
Getting
some of
fit,
those things.
focusing on your health.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But one thing, I was talking about the two things that I learned. One was, that you have to date the person. And the second thing that I learned was during this journey that the toughest thing for us humans is letting go, saying no to something and letting go. It is so difficult, like at least for me, but then I realized that unless you don't let go, only when you let go are you letting the universe make room for more to actually come to you, you know like so much more comes to you when you let go. Like, open your arms and be like, okay, I surrender, I am done. Like, take it, I don't have anything more to lose. I've lost the most important thing, which is priceless, that's my health. I don't have anything more to lose, right? So I was like, okay, fine, here you go, I surrender. I didn't know there was so much more coming to me. And I was crying. I was like, I mean, I wouldn't cry in front of my parents, obviously, but I was breaking down in the bathroom. And I had a therapist. I understood the importance of therapy, especially for us founders. And yeah, I was talking to someone regularly every week, sometimes even 2 or 3 times a week. I was doing all of that, and yeah, wrote a book. And in 2023, when I came back, like mid 2023, pretty much, I spoke with my co-founder who had also taken a year-long break, and he also needed that time. And I was like, I think I know what to build now. And he's like, oh my God, really? What? And I mean, that itch in your brain, right? So after like 14, 15 months of a break, so third company was video AI. Sora had still not come out. We were like, okay, listen, we've dabbled in text. First one was text, emotion AI, but text. Like, okay, let's do like video generation. Like, I mean, simplify the whole ad generation, but for marketers, right?
Okay.
So, like
This is Pi Pi.
Pi,
Yes.
yes,
Okay. So here we
which
go.
happened in 23,
Okay. So you start this, you say, okay, I'm going to bounce back. Do you raise? Do you decide
We raised a little bit of a money. Yeah.
venture
And
or not venture?
venture.
How do you go back
Yes,
in? How
yes,
do you go back in
exactly.
after all of that? How did you do it? You went back in.
This time I dated people. Well,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. I sort of knew who to connect with and stuff. And I'd been to some very good events and I was keynote speaking. So I'd been keynote speaking on AI. I was one of the like first people in America to actually be keynote speaking on AI. Because we started building in 2018, right? When like no one could talk about prompt engineering. I've heard AI keynote speakers talk about prompt engineering, and I'm like, oh my God, kill me. There's so much more than just prompts. So yeah, I was one of the first ones to sort of talk about AI in this country. And I'd met a lot of wonderful people through that. So yeah.
So it sounds like you took the learnings from number two, second company, and you say, okay, now I'm going to date until I know I have the right investors and I'm going to raise a little less to make sure that the terms are better for me and, where we need to be. And you build this. And just 2 years later, I mean, it's in June, right? Was it in June that it was acquired?
So it got acquired last year in October.
Okay, October 24. So not even, what is that, a year later, a year and a half?
So 23, sort of like April, May is when we were ideating. Let's say
Yes.
June is when we officially started, to 24 October. So yeah, like, I mean, let's say 18 months, not like, 18 months. And then we were sort of transitioning from that and stuff. Yeah.
How does that happen so quickly?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, tell me.
This was a quick thing because Sora was coming out, so we knew that it's gonna be impossible, right, to compete with someone like a Sora. Again, we kind of had initially the motivation to build this, and then just before Sora was coming out, we were like, okay, perfect time, let's get acquired. And a lot of companies like us were initially getting were basically getting acquired at that time. So we got this pretty good offer from this company called Bluebells Media and stuff. And yeah, And so we were like, okay, let's do this. So got acquired, and then we sort of stayed for 6 months, and like I'm still somehow associated with them. I still keep helping here and there, but frankly speaking, I didn't do much in the last 1 year of my life. Yeah, I was like, what to do next? So I wrote my third book, got that published. That was announced an Amazon bestseller in July. So that was like a little nice thing, like, it's called Bitch Stop Please, an entrepreneur's journey of innovation from chaos to clarity. And that sort of helped me, because this is my first book in the US. The last two were published in India. So, that helped me sort of connect with some other creative folks and stuff. And it was nice. It was a lot of fun.
I love bitch stop, please. What do we need to stop doing?
It's a very funny story, actually. I mean, I'm talking about entrepreneurship and about my story and, all the things that happened, burnout and everything. I'd gone to Peru last year, and I was doing the Machu Picchu trip, from Cusco to Machu Picchu, the whole trek. I did the 5-day trek. And after that, I told this friend of mine about all the things that I'm planning to do in life. That, hey, I'm writing a book, and I started a newsletter, which is like being sent to 70,000 founders in the country. Oh, I launched a newsletter as well, yeah. And then next, and I launched a foundation, the Sharmin Ali Foundation for Entrepreneurs.
Yes, I saw that. Safe.
And I was going on and on and on, and I was like, this is what I'm trying to do next. And she's like, bitch, stop, please. Let it register in my head.
Yeah, that's really a really important message. And I wonder for you, when I think of you and I think of all that you've accomplished at, this stage of your life, and then I think about what's next. Do you see yourself inventing and reinventing again and again? Do you see yourself continuing to build companies?
Now the last 1 year, I haven't done anything. I mean, I've invested in a few companies and stuff and all that. Yes, all that I've done. I've dabbled in a few things here and there. Now I'm like basically at that juncture of my life when I'm exploring what to do next. I mean, yes, we always have a few ideas, right? So I've had a few ideas, but one thing that I'm doing for sure is creating a lot of content. Like, I've understood how LinkedIn works, how the algorithm works, and some of my content has been like blowing up. And I mean, every month something or the other just blows up, on my LinkedIn, and that is very encouraging. So I'm kind of enjoying that, riding that right now, and figuring out what to
It's
do
so
next.
cool.
Yeah, attending a lot of events. Yes, meeting a lot of people. I joined PEF and stuff, and I've had a call with at least
Yes.
100 people from PEF, like one-on-ones,
Yes.
and figured that I'm not alone in this journey. People have similar stories.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fascinating that as entrepreneurs, it's so often not about the money or the reward. It's about the journey. And like, I just hear you on this incredible journey. I mean, listen, I love you being done for now and focusing on content and that stuff. But I see you on a journey
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
continuing on that
I'm
journey.
I'm I'm
'Cause it's,
figuring things out for myself. Yes. Like,
yeah.
please come to me. Tell me,
Yes,
what
I
do I
will.
have to do? Come to me. Yes.
But it's what you did last time too. It's surrendering and being open. One thing that I think you talked about was about how you are able to capitalize on timing, how you have the vision to know when the timing is right. And I'm certain for whatever is next for you, it'll be exactly the same thing. The timing will hit. It'll be something new. And that's where you go. So how wonderful. And what an amazing story. What an interesting path that you've taken through all the three companies and the different lessons that you've learned. What's the top piece of advice that you have for founders who are looking to get acquired? I know I read one amazing thing from you on LinkedIn that was about how acquisition isn't really the goal, but but if you want to get acquired, making yourself very attractive to acquirers. And I love that piece from you. Hopefully everyone follows you on LinkedIn from this.
I mean, like, it's not important to raise venture money. I mean, yes, I raised a lot, and I know a lot of people now. I mean, now with vibe coding, people are raising money in like less than a month, right? I mean, and they are raising millions. Like everyone's just giving a lot of accelerators are giving away money and stuff, right? I mean, one piece of advice is that don't just build a company because you want to be rich. There are easier ways of getting richer. You know,
There are easier ways
easier
of getting
ways.
rich. That's what I always try and say. There are easier ways of getting rich than doing
Yeah, yeah.
building
I
your
mean, the
company.
whole,
Company gives
yeah,
you freedom.
yeah,
It gives you flexibility.
yes,
Doesn't always give you money.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't always give you money. I mean, and that's the unfortunate reality. But if you, I mean, you have to first even know if you're meant to be an entrepreneur. Because that that crazy ride, that and people might think that there's a plan B, but I mean, yeah, okay, you can always resort to a job, and I'm sure you'll be welcomed with a red carpet and stuff and all that because of your experience. But the kick that you get from being an entrepreneur, and to sustain that kick for a very long time, like I've done this for 11 years now, and before that 4 years of learning at this startup, I was like 15 years of startup experience. I mean, I know the toll it has taken on me mentally, and the way it has essentially nurtured me and turned me into who I am. Like, I do not crack under pressure. That's something that I learned about myself, and I mean, it took time for me to understand that. But I've seen people commit suicide, peers. I've seen people losing it all and getting into, like, I mean, depression, and they've been in depression for long, or getting into addiction, alcohol or drug addiction or whatever, and their lives are ruined. So,
What do you what do you think are the questions you should ask yourself to make sure that you don't, if you're an
mm,
entrepreneur, you're in this space and you're feeling
mm.
crushed by the weight of the pressure, or really feeling like that, how do you identify that, and what do you think founders should do to make sure that they don't get in, God forbid, that?
First thing, everyone needs to do is that have a therapist. All founders, the I mean, whatever salary that you draw, let's say, like, traditionally what we see is 120K, right? People are like, okay, fine, I can at least be drawing 10K per month, for example, at least what I've seen in this country. I'm giving you my numbers. So, I mean, if you're drawing 10K, at least every week go talk to a therapist. That's the least that you can do for yourself. Look after yourself, because that is the most important thing. When you get onto a flight, they say this, that before you help someone else, first put the oxygen mask on yourself, help yourself, and then you help someone else, right? I mean, I used to be like, why do they say that? But then I realized that if you don't have enough oxygen in your body, how would you even help another person, right? That therapist, is your oxygen, because when you're overwhelmed, I think clarity and structure is what you need, and that clarity and structure is something that this therapist or a counselor or a psychologist, whatever you might call it, they can really help you with. So have a therapist or someone to talk to. It's very important, because not everyone can understand what it takes to be a founder, and I mean, what it can do to your personal relationships, to your friendships, to your relationship with your parents. Oh my God. It can, like, life altering experience. But if you can sustain this pressure, then that means you can sustain anything. But it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily go through this test to prove yourself. No,
That's
no,
right.
not
That's
needed.
right.
Not needed. Yeah.
Charmin, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You are wonderful.
Same here, Carrie. Such an amazing experience. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.